So this is Baruch here, once again at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I am pushing here to keep myself strong to get through this next year. Yes, it's not like I'm on vacation, but I'm actually in work, but there's nothing for me to do for a little while in the morning, so I'm trying to cram my shiurim in, and I'm asking you to join with me. Now, disclaimer here right at the beginning, I don't want to say to anybody that they think I'm an expert at this, because I'm not. What I can do is I can read it to a certain extent, and I'm asking you to join along with me as I attempt to read and understand what's going on in these Shar Kabbanos. They have a tremendous amount of Kabbalah involved in it, and especially if you're involved in prayer and you want your prayer to be meaningful. Boy, this is a way to point yourself and to set yourself up. So he said, this is where we're at right now. We have been talking about the four stations of the flow of energy that comes from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu through the Olamos, through every Olam, and through every part of every Olam until it reaches down to us. But he says the origin, there are bases, and I'm trying to understand the idea of it because I understand that all of the Shefa comes from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, let's say, as what we understand, what we call either the Av Sag, the Ak, which is a yichud that takes place at the most, let's say, thin reality, the greatest amount of energy, the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, that takes place there, and eventually it flows down, and that energy, that juice, that light is limited down. His matos of the or is the concept of the tikkun, so make it possible for the channels of light to be able to bring the light to us. Now he says that if it starts at the possible places that this light could have a start, of course we understand once again it's coming from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. But the start that we are picturing here is either the outside of ATIK, the inside that's a Panemius of Erich, the Chitzonius of Erich, or the Chitzonius of Abba Ve'ima, which is directly above Zeranpin. Now, all of this is the same metaphor as for our world. But here we're talking about the Olam Atzilus. V'lechein ke'ez zman hagalus. Now, we're living in Galus right now. This is words of the Tivuk of others. Hamochim ha'yosek uvochem she'yechola l'hamshech, the highest level of mochim that can be purely brought down to us. So he says, he's once again, who rak min chitzonius atik below Yosef Mizek, only comes from the outside of the atik and not more than that. Now let's read a little bit of the words of, once again, of Rabbi Yitzchak Yiloria Ashkenazi, also known as the Ria Kodesh. So let's go backwards in times, he said. There we want to talk about the position from which the light has a lodging and where it's going to come. Hu garua mina kriya shemata yotza the chakra. It's less. It's more inferior than that. The fi shabamilis Yisrael, and it always goes like this. There are magic words in the Shema. When you say the second word, and all of the words are magic. In other words, it means to say by saying them, you're promoting something to take place in terms of the heavens, and which means that the flow of light coming to us. You say the word Yisrael, Niknasim Yachad come in at the same time. The Panimi the Abba Umamakad Betzad Ima the Katas Biyachad. So all of this comes in at the same time. Once again, the Panimi the Abba. So and the Makif the Mitzad Ima and also the Makif of Ima, which is in terms of lights, the Makif is stronger than the Panimi. The Katnas Biyachad. So they come in at the same time. Now let's read a little bit more. And let's look at number Yud Aleph down here. We'll try to stay close to the Tiv as possible. He says, a Kriat Shema Sha'omreka B'Seder Kabbanis D'Shachris. So now this is the first time you're going to say a Kriat Shema. We had learned previously that all of the Mochin, the Katnas that are in Zer Anpin are never less than the Panimi of Ima. That is the Panimi of the light that comes from the inside of Ima. So that light. Hu garua ma'ala b'kriya shema the yotze, but it's much more. It's inferior to that kriya shema. He yos the lefi amiras kriya shema, and it comes out like this: is when you're saying the kriya shema the karbanos. Hoyel is there anpin the nuk rak amochan the katas amuchwach lo. They only had the mochan the katas that were absolutely necessary to keep them alive. The high of Shehoyelo rock Hatzadi the Katnas mitzad Ima Levad. Now understand that Katnas comes in the form of a tzalim. The tzalim means that the tzalim is the aspect of Ima that comes into Zeranpin. Here we're talking about continence, not godless, but it's the same process. He said, but the lama, the men are makifi. They're lights that are too great to go into Zeranpin at this point. So he said that's all they have, the continence mitzad ima levad. But now you say this magic word Yisroel. Az mekabel azal shnei madregas beyacha. Then two more madregas of light come into Zeranpin. The hind of the lamed mem dekantas the ima. That's called the lamed mem, which are the makifim of ima. This is the word again, tzalim. Tzalim. Tzalim Elokim bara osam. Here's the tzalim. This is what the tzalim is. The ima v'az kuvar mushlam b'kol mochen dekata b'tzad ima. Then now he's complete. As all of the mochen detzad ima, that he has what? The makif of the panimi of ima. V'gam mekabel azav chetzi de ashet hatzadi dekata b'tzad abba, but also the panimius of abba. That is the light of the panimi of abba that comes into Zer Anpin at this time. So he has three mochen here. Nimser Shadayim Chosed is a Lamed Mem Dekata B'tzad Abba, so but the Makifim, which are the Lamed Mem of Abba, still missing them. Mitzad Abba Ata B'Tevis Yisrael. So that's what comes in at the word Tevis Yisrael. Masha Ein came but Kriat Shemah Yotzer, which is not Kriat Shemah Yotzer, a different case. Because when you come to say the Yichud that's going to take place at Kriat Shema, you're all going to have all of the Mochen Dekatnis inside of Zer Anpin. So now everything is complete. Now let's go back up to the top, read the words of the Rav HaKodesh just by themselves. Then he said, now you come, you said Yisrael, and now we're talking about Karbanos now. You have three Mochin inside of Zer Anpin. So he says, now you say the word Echad, Nektis Makif to Abba. The Makif to Abba now comes in then. Now it draws that in. It's not in already. It draws that in. It seems to make it, it's an important idea. And it comes in Yachad in the Mochen the Shisha Kitzvahs, the godless. And also, not only that, but you also draw in the 6 Kitzvahs, the godless. Now, I try to understand, we're going to read the Tiv, of course. I try to understand what's the significance of the fact that it's missing a little bit of its of the mochin of continence, but they do come in with the same time when you're bringing in the 6 kitzvos of the mochin of godless of ima. So what's the big deal about that? Now everything's there. So he says like this: when you say the word echad, so there you're getting there. You're getting there a chilak mochen dekatas a chesed b'menu. So now choser b'menu. So now you're getting the part that's missing. The hind of the lamed mem dekatnas b'tzad Abba. Now he said that you had, so that is the makif of Abba was missing previously. They're called the lamed mem. I'll just go over this again. The lamed, which is a light, which is of a makif, it's a very powerful light. And it's really too great of a light for Zer Anpin to hold it. So, but it does go in and go out of Zer Anpin in different places. We see that, but it remains outside because it's too strong. So he says but the mem, the mem of is much too powerful, and it can never really go into Zer Anpin, but shine very strongly at Zer Anpin. So, but here we're talking about continence. So here we're talking about the same idea, but it's in a lower grade. So you have godless, you have continence, and what we're looking for is godless. Godless means expanded consciousness of the awareness of a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the world. This world is so dark that we're constantly losing track, or maybe never find the track. That really shows us when the Ein Sof Baruch Hu is really shining. So let's read it again. He says, now this is the last word of the Shema. He's getting all of the mochen dekatnas that are coming in now. What he's missing, which are in particular the lamed mem dekatnas b'tzad Abba. But you get it at the same time that you get the shisha kitzvos, the godless, the mitzad ima. So you're getting all of that is coming into Zer Anpin. So the Rab says like this, number Yud Gimel. Here we are up at top. We have to read up at the top first. We read up at the top first. Because therefore, since they were choser to begin with, and what's it mean to be missing? What you're missing is the pains of this world that are not completely and totally illuminated. And as a result of that, the amount of shefa that you're able to pull down, because understand, illumination means you're raising them up to the Ein Sof Baruch, constantly thinking. This is what Rabbi Nachman again, they're constantly thinking of where I am in the world, what am I doing? I listen to Rabbi Nachman didn't make this up. He just made it easy for us to digest. This you'll hear from Rabbi Memron's not a Breslov at all. He's not interested in that line. He has his own line. That's a Sephardic line of all of these people who use the same meditation techniques, but also many of them, as we've discussed previously, are much more sophisticated, or let's say, than simple conversation with God. All are great. So he says, and then what you're going to do is you're going to bring down Mochen as a result of the faults of the Opal Zignon, to Erich Bilvad, but it doesn't come from the Kitzonius of ATIK, meaning that it's a level downwards, below Malamalam at the ATIK, but not from up above in ATIK. So now we're going through all these things and we're trying to understand exactly what are the advantages and the disadvantages of the place. And now we see that if you're Chaser Mochi, when you come to say the word Echad, if those mochi you're missing come in at that time, but it means that the pull, that is the desire to pull down light, was also inferior, because all of the problems that come with the entire mochen of godness are not there yet to pull down the greater light. So that's what happens in Karbanos. So it's missing both of those. Now you say the final word, so then Zah, he's explaining now what I'm trying to explain. The Zah now is able to pull up Man. It brings up Man. What is Man? Man Nukvin is our prayers, our needs, what we need. What's Man? So now he's, as a sacrifice, so to speak, you're bringing up what you had to begin with. Because again, this the Mayim Nukvin causes great things to happen up above. That means that when you pray, when you learn Torah, that you're making great things to happen up above. But there's different levels of it depending on where you're holding at the time that you're praying. And so we're holding over here by Karbanos. We're not at Yotzer anymore. Or we're not yet at Yotzer yet. So what you're bringing down is you're making this man. You bring in the mochen de God, but since this position, the status is there at the time that he's bringing up this mayim nukvin, he says heim choloshim, so they're going to be weaker. That's what I'm trying to explain. They're going to be weaker because all of the problems are not present. They're not illuminated to be able to bring them up because they're not in Zer Anpin. They only come into Zer Anpin when you say the word echad. So it's not the same like it would be by Yotzer, where they have all of them open. So therefore, the Abba and Ima, who are the ones that are in charge of, I guess, pulling the light into Zer Anpin from up above themselves, from beneath to themselves. So they can't bring from Onsonius Atik because they didn't have the power of the Mayim Nukvin yet. Let me move this over here a little bit. Onsonius Atik. Ratman Panemius Erich, but only from the inside of Erich. That's where it's a Madrega downward. Shulcha Madrega Yosef Katanem and a Onsonius Atik. Now let's see. We're really getting close to the end. Let's see what we can, if I could do I'm going to stop here. We're going to pick it up tomorrow, and we're going to see what's going to be the next part of this year, and we're going to learn about the next set of Kriat Shemah, the Kriat Shemah, which is stated by Arvis. We understand that that's going to come from the Kitzonius of ATIK, once again, because there are more mochim missing. When we come to the final one, which we're going to be learning tomorrow with God's help, we'll see how that goes. Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator. Kol El. Amen.